So now we're going to focus on competencies, which is another big component of the
50%,
process.
50%.
We're in year 2 now, so what is a competency for folks? It's a good refresher, good reminder.
Right. Well, competencies are behaviors, so it's how someone does their job.
Okay.
Right. Not
Goals are what I do. Competencies, how I do it. Can you give me an
Yes.
example?
Gosh, accountable for results.
Okay, good one. Yeah.
Right. The important thing to keep in mind with competencies, I think, is it's so critical for the supervisors to sit down with the employee at the beginning of the year and decide jointly what those are going to be, understanding that some of those may be departmental competencies or could come from the VP area.
Sure.
And also to refer to the behaviors. We've defined behaviors for the 1, 3, and 5 rating. So good opportunity.
Pretty specific too, right?
Very
very straightforward.
Right, right. I think it takes some of the subjectivity out of evaluating behavior, right? Because the supervisor and the employee can sit down and say, well, you know, these are the expectations of a 5, or these are the expectations of a 3, which, by the way, 3 is effective, so it's someone who's very valuable and good at their job.
Yeah, absolutely. So why do we care about behaviors, Sue? I mean, why is that part of this process? Isn't it all about just getting the work done?
Well, you know, it's funny because when I have conversations around competencies and I talk to people about that, I'm like, you know, there's a big difference between somebody who, let's just give an example of answering the phone. And I know we've all had this experience in our life where we'll listen to somebody, we'll call somewhere, and the person who answers the phone will either answer it with a smile on their face or not. I mean, imagine that example.
Positive tone.
You can have a positive tone and really sort of, you know, be engaging with the person or not. And that really is where the crux of the competency idea comes in. How are you doing that job? Yes, you're answering the phone, so that part is done.
Yeah.
But, you know, how are you really doing that? Are you doing it in such a way that, you know, you're promoting goodwill, you're promoting, you know, sort of that high performance mentality, or are you doing it in such a way that is turning people off, right? So these are ways that we can actually talk about that with employees.
That's great.
It's also a great way to talk, you know, as a supervisor with an employee, to sort of describe when an employee says, well, how can I get a 5? How can I be this in my job? How can I excel at that? You know, it may not be that they're just going to a team meeting. It may be that they need to establish and be more engaged as a leader in that team meeting. And those are the things where the competencies come up. You know, there are leadership qualities that you can portray, and these are the ways that we help employees do that.
Really be part of the conversation because they should support the performance. They should work together, correct? That the behaviors are what we want to demonstrate to help us execute the goals, so that together they fulfill the package of our expectations in a year.
Exactly.
So how many competencies should we identify? There is a minimum.
There is. The minimum is 3,
okay,
and the maximum is 5.
So there's a maximum here, and is that just because it would be really almost impossible to focus on too many of these behaviors as critical?
Yes.
Even though they're all good, right? There are 30 of them.
There are 30.
And they're all good, and we all want to demonstrate all of them to some degree, but we're picking the ones that most align to being an effective performer in that particular role.
That's correct, and they could be the same as the ones that the individual had last year.
Yeah,
right?
because
if they're still developing and still
exactly.
Sure, and even if they're effective in there, they may still be very important to demonstrate those behaviors.
Yes.
I mean, it's all about being a successful employee, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that are very nice compliments to the goals that you set to be successful in your job.
Great.
And it's, you know, it's a nice model.
And again, part of the conversation process for sure, as you mentioned, with the employee and the supervisor. Now, once I've done that and I've signed my 3 to 5 competencies, if there's a competency or two though that I really think might help me further along, but they're not really aligned to the goals and they're not in my plan there, is it still worth focusing on those maybe for career development? Is there still an opportunity there?
I would always encourage employees, if they feel like they want to develop in a particular area, to do that. And there are resources available on our website where they can go to find out, you know, books they could read, or articles, or any number of things.
Okay, so competencies have a role in development as well as a role in sort of being the behaviors that support our performance.
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, we'll talk about career development next.